How to turn boy into man. The hidden science of masculine development. Throughout human history, one question has echoed across civilizations. How does a boy truly become a man? Not just physically, that's automatic, but in that profound transformation of mind, purpose, and responsibility that defines real maturity. Look around today. Traditional rites of passage have vanished. Clear markers of adulthood have blurred. Young men drift through life, bombarded with endless options but starved of genuine guidance. No wonder we're seeing unprecedented rates of male depression, anxiety, and purposelessness. But here's what they're not telling you. This isn't just some cultural problem. It's biological, psychological, and deeply rooted in our evolutionary past. When a boy hits puberty, testosterone floods his system, increasing by up to 800%. His voice deepens, muscles develop, but something even more significant happens inside his brain, a fundamental rewiring that science is only beginning to understand. The adolescent male brain creates an imbalance between two critical systems. The limbic system, controlling emotion and reward, develops early. But the prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making and impulse control, won't fully mature until around 25. This isn't a design flaw. It's an evolutionary feature that once created the perfect hunter, warrior, and explorer. Young men were physically capable, energetic, and willing to take necessary risks to protect the tribe. But in our modern environment, this same biological programming becomes deeply problematic. The drives that once pushed young men to hunt mammoth now manifest as reckless behavior, substance abuse, or endless hours in digital worlds that offer the illusion of achievement without real consequences. The biological transformation happens automatically. The psychological one, that's where everything breaks down. Throughout history, cultures instinctively understood this reality. The Maasai had their lion hunt. Ancient Spartans had the agoge. These weren't just symbolic ceremonies, they were carefully designed systems to transform psychology through controlled challenge and mentorship. Today, those structures are gone, replaced by confusion, endless entertainment, and perhaps most damaging, uncertainty about what being a man even means anymore. Here's the truth that no one wants to admit. A society without strong, capable men is a society in decline. Not because women aren't equally valuable, they absolutely are, but because mature masculinity provides unique and essential qualities that benefit everyone. So what creates this transformation? After studying anthropology, neuroscience, and psychology across cultures, we've identified 4 fundamental transitions that turn boys into men. A boy primarily takes from his environment: food, shelter, knowledge, entertainment. A man learns to produce value, to give back more than he takes. Look at what happens in the brain during this shift. Consumption activates immediate pleasure pathways, but production? It triggers deeper, more sustained satisfaction circuits connected to purpose and meaning. That's why a man building something with his hands experiences a fundamentally different kind of fulfillment than a boy playing video games. Traditional cultures facilitated this transition by progressively increasing responsibilities and requiring demonstrated competence in providing something valuable to the community. Today, many young men reach their 20s or even 30s without ever experiencing this neural pathway activation. A boy acts primarily on immediate desires. A man develops the capacity to override impulses for greater goals. This transition literally reshapes neural architecture. Each act of self-discipline strengthens connections between the prefrontal cortex and limbic system. Over time, this creates not suppression of desires, but integration, the ability to channel emotional energy toward chosen purposes. Ancient cultures systematically built this capacity through progressively intense challenges that couldn't be completed without mastering impulses. From fasting rituals to endurance tests, these weren't arbitrary tortures. They were neurodevelopmental technologies perfected over thousands of years. A boy relies heavily on others to meet his needs and solve his problems. A man develops the capability to stand on his own, not in isolation, but as an equal contributor in interdependent relationships. This transition rewires risk assessment and decision-making circuits. Each experience of genuine consequence, both positive and negative, creates better predictive models and adaptive capacity. Traditional pathways created this through progressive separation from protection, placing young men in situations with real stakes, but where catastrophic failure was prevented through mentorship. Modern society does the opposite, extending adolescence indefinitely while simultaneously removing meaningful guidance. A boy's primary concern is himself and his immediate desires. A man expands his circle of responsibility to others, family, community, principles greater than himself. This transition engages our highest cognitive functions: perspective-taking, moral reasoning, and legacy thinking. It shifts time horizons from the immediate to the generational. In traditional societies, young men eventually took formal protective roles, where others depended on their vigilance, wisdom, and courage. Today, we've created systems where many men never experience the neurological rewards of being genuinely needed by others. Here's the critical insight. These 4 transitions weren't arbitrary cultural inventions. They reflect fundamental patterns of human development. The challenge isn't abandoning masculinity, but rediscovering these transitions in forms appropriate to our world. Despite what mainstream narratives suggest, these pathways can still be reconstructed. Research consistently shows several elements remain transformative. Strong mentorship from older men who embody mature masculinity. Studies reveal the profound impact of non-parental adult men on adolescent development, particularly for those without father figures. Progressive challenge that stretches capacity without breaking confidence. The psychological concept of optimal challenge, tasks difficult enough to require growth but achievable with effort, creates ideal conditions for developing competence and resilience. Conscious community that recognizes and affirms progress. The social brain responds powerfully to recognition from respected peers and elders. We're wired to be initiated by those we admire. Purpose beyond self that channels masculine energy toward contribution rather than conquest. Research consistently shows that meaning-focused living produces greater satisfaction than pleasure-focused living. The specific form these take will vary. For some, it might be wilderness challenges or athletic pursuit. For others, entrepreneurship or creative mastery. For still others, military or community service. The external form matters less than the internal transformations. Here's what no one tells young men today. Authentic masculinity isn't about dominating others. It's about mastering yourself. It's not about rejecting emotion. It's about channeling emotional energy with purpose. It's not about being invulnerable. It's about developing strength that makes genuine vulnerability possible. The journey from boy to man isn't about conforming to stereotypes. It's about developing the capacity to transform potential into reality, to channel energy into creation rather than destruction, and to expand concern beyond yourself to the welfare of others. In many ways, this journey reflects the larger human story, our struggle to overcome limitations, find meaning in challenge, and create something of lasting value with our brief time on this planet. Here's the ultimate truth. This transformation isn't just for men's benefit. Mature masculinity is ultimately a gift to the world. It transforms raw potential into strength that creates rather than conquers, protects rather than dominates, and serves something larger than itself. In a world facing unprecedented challenges, we need this transformation more than ever, not just for the welfare of men, but for the future we collectively create. The path from boy to man has never been easy, but the rewards, for the individual, for their loved ones, and for society, make it the most important journey a male will ever undertake. What kind of man will you become?